My name is Lieutenant General Romeo Dallaire, Commander of the UNAMIR Peacekeeping Force. I'm here to talk about the Rwandan Genocide and the UN Force's failure of stopping the genocide. The genocide itself was planned for over a year by the Hutu political elites who ran the government. The genocide was sparked on April 6, 1994, when the Rwandan president, Juvenal Habyarimana, was assassinated. This created a power vacuum and chaos ensued. The killings began the very next day, with Hutu soldiers, militia, and policemen began executing Tutsi and moderate Hutu military and political figures. As the killing progressed, ordinary people began killing each other in the streets. Neighbors, friends killed each other. Over the next 100 days, an estimated 800,000 to 1 million Tutsi and Hutu moderates were killed. That was 70% of the Tutsi population in Rwanda. The genocide ended when the Rwandan Patriotic Front, led by Paul Kagame, defeated the Hutu extremists. Mr. Dallaire, who are the Hutus and the Tutsis, and why was there ethnic hatred between them? The conflict between the Hutus and Tutsis is about economic differences rather than cultural differences, and their hatred between each other stretches all the way back to the 19th century. When the Germans and Belgians colonized Rwanda in the 19th century, they promoted the Tutsi as leaders rather than the Hutus. The Hutus cultivated crops, and the Tutsis cultivated animals. The Tutsis are wealthier because animals were more valuable than crops. The colonial government promoted the Tutsis as leaders, and they oppressed the Hutus. However, there was far more Hutus than Tutsis in Rwanda. When the country became independent in the 1960s, the Hutu leaders won the election by a landslide, and after that there was many years of small conflict and tension. However, in 1993, the Hutu leaders, as they controlled the government military, planned a genocide. Mr. Dallaire, why can't the UN security forces stop the genocide from happening? Firstly, the UN Security Council didn't give me and my forces enough power to stop the genocide. The year before the genocide, I learned of massive shipments of weapons coming to the Rwandan military, and I learned from an informant that these weapons were to be used in the upcoming genocide. The genocide had been planned by the Hutu elites for over a year. I tried to seize the weapons at the time, but the UN stopped me and said I had to be kept on a leash. Once the genocide started, the various countries pulled out their troops, leaving me with a meager force to combat the genocidaries. Most of our Rwandan staff were murdered during the first days of the genocide, which limited our abilities. We tried to protect the Tutsi refugees at our secure sites, but we couldn't risk fighting the genocide forces. I believe that with 5,000 more men and no rules of engagement which held us back, we could have stopped the genocide and saved many lives. The UN, and particularly Belgium, let Rwanda down. Mr. Dallaire, what was the aftermath of the genocide? The genocide officially ended when the RPF, led by Paul Kagame, beat the Hutus and installed a new government in Rwanda. The total number of deaths is unknown, but an estimated 800,000 to 1 million Tutsis and Hutu moderates were killed. 250,000 to 500,000 women were raped during the genocide. Also, approximately 100,000 to 200,000 Tutsis were killed in fighting and revenge killings by the RPF. Thousands of more Hutus died of disease in refugee camps after fleeing the country, fearing that Kagame would kill all the Hutus. Kagame to this day is still the president of Rwanda, and the government is prominently Tutsi. The genocide scars the country to this day, and around 70% of the Tutsi population was killed during the genocide.